3 shots, 4 par, I just do 2. 1 putt, par 4, birdie, woohoo. New driver, info, replace, M2, par 5, fairway, what you fin do? Think I'll try to get on into. Start right, good line, good view. It drew, shooter McGavin, 2 thumbs that's
This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Swannies. Clear your closet and get ready to upgrade your fall golf wardrobe over at swannies.co using the promo code SCREWS25. At swannies.co using the promo code SCREWS25. Celebrate pars. All right, we're rolling. We're going.
All right, here we go.
We got to get going at some point here. We're back. Episode 160 something. 165.
4, I think, right?
4?
5?
3,
4,
4, 5. It's one of those ones. Correct.
3, 4, 5.
That's
crazy.
Correct.
That's
right.
crazy, guys.
Thanks, pal. We got Jake Morrow, good friend of the pod, back again. Welcome back, Jake.
Yeah.
Made for the range.
Excited.
Where are you right now, Jake?
I'm just in my bedroom.
Not in the unit.
Put the thing up behind me. Not in my unit.
Okay.
Not in my shop.
A little makeshift.
Which kind of stinks.
But I like the sweater.
The other side's green.
We got some merch. We got some stuff. This looks good, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, this hoodie is causing my life to be a little bit more stressful than I wanted it to be.
Yeah, I saw you're putting polls out on the Instagram today.
Yeah, I got plans. There's definitely gonna be hoodies. There's definitely gonna be t-shirts, and there's definitely gonna be hats. There's a chance that there is going to be a handful of other things. I think I don't know. I've talked to Mac about this before, because like I don't want to do the Printify thing. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm too big of a control freak, I think, for that.
Yeah.
And I also I think I'm gonna make everything limited every time. Like, I might come up with a couple stock designs to have in perpetuity, but I want like if I release this hoodie, right? Like I'm gonna make maybe 50 of them.
That's it.
And that's it.
Mhm.
Like those 50 people get to say they have one, and the next one might be the same exact hoodie in a different color,
Yeah,
but it's
just
still
limited
not
drops.
that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
like I really like that idea. I don't want to do like swag and do drops, but I just want it to be understood that like when something comes out, there's gonna be a certain quantity of them available, and then I want to change it up just for the sake of changing it up.
Mhm.
And that's going to apply to like I'm going to go all the way to like golf tees that have the bucket logo on them. I'm going to
Right.
change tees every, if you say you order 10,000 tees, realistically that's 100 people with a pack of 100, right?
Mhm.
So like once those 100 packs are gone, like I'm not making that tee again for either a significant period of time or possibly ever. But I think I got to stop ignoring it. I think the bucket logo can go far. I really do.
Call this guy.
Clean logo.
Call this guy Jake Malbine. There's a market here. Like I'm already reaching for my wallet.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
if you're
There's a-
dropping
there's
like
a
a
big
lavender purple
opportunity.
hoodie or something like that, and I know that's
Oh,
only
I have,
gonna be,
I have grips for you boys too.
yeah. And
keep
if I know
forgetting
it's
about
only
that.
gonna be a one-time thing, I'm there, man. I can't. I have like FOMO with that stuff sometimes.
Yeah, my Scotty's
mean,
looking for a
there's-
super stroke on it too. So
I'm talking about the
the
gear.
grips I definitely have to get sent your guys' way. They're made. They're yours.
They got the logos on them.
yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
That's
right
so
here,
cool, man.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
right here.
Love that.
Yeah, it's
Love
right in
That's
that-
cool.
That space, yeah.
That's really cool.
It's they're pretty sweet, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like they're actually pretty cool.
So
Yeah, I saw pictures of them.
it's been 8 months, something like that, Jake. How long has it been since?
Hasn't
you
been that
launched?
long. Maybe
No, no.
6. No,
Okay.
maybe not even 4. Maybe I don't know.
Man, how
Hasn't been that long, has it? Since he's been on?
8 months since when?
since you were last on.
I don't think it's
No.
been that long.
No.
It was like July.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. 4 months,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I said 4.
I have a 2-month-old.
Yeah,
or
it was
2-year-old,
no
man,
earlier than
2-month-old.
July because you guys
Yeah.
helped me launch, and I didn't launch till August.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. There we go. I
Yeah.
told you guys we started off this pod. We kicked this off. I'm 6-7 hours deep into and that was only like 30% of the edit for the Lowy pod.
Yeah.
So I'm a little fried right now. So it might have been 3 months ago, might have been 3 years ago. I have no idea.
Yeah, Max said I have to stay on my toes this pod too. So
Yeah,
if I
hard
correct him, I'm
carry.
not being a dick. I'm just trying to help out.
I'm
that's all.
just here to press the buttons today. So
Yeah.
no, but and I was happy for it because obviously, like Jake, we've become buddies. The three of us are all buddies. It's easy to chat and kind of talk some gear and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But so take us back, I guess, the last 4 months. What's been going on? We're Made for the Range is now a like premium golf fashion.
Yeah.
Like
So
there's a lot that's happened here in a short period of time. So let's catch
yeah,
us up a little bit.
There's a lot that has happened in a short period of time, and there's a significant amount of things that are going to happen in the next 30 days, which is really, really cool.
You're always teasing. You came on last time. And you're like, I haven't
Yeah.
dropped yet, but I will here in a minute. And now you're like,
Yeah.
oh, now 30 days you're gonna have something big. Like, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I have big stuff right now. I told Mac that like part of
Yeah.
the reason we wanted to get on being in December was I got big stuff now. So I can't talk about any of the partnerships for next year. I will say that there are additions to the sponsorship of the site for next year, which is really cool. It
Love
just
that.
allows me to make more of those topics.
Can we talk about what kind of
support.
sponsorship? Like maybe not specifically like what brands, what companies, whatever they may be. Like what?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I actually, if I don't shoot myself in the foot, I believe every section is going to be live with a sponsor. So that is woods, irons, potentially separate category for irons and wedges. If not, it'll stay one category. So woods, irons, putters, golf balls, wood shafts, iron shafts. So those are going to separate. What am I missing? Grips and wedges if it becomes a separate topic.
So when we say a sponsor, that means like a brand or a company kind of representing each subsection of the website.
Yeah, so basically how it works is those companies provide financial support for me for the range, as well as product support for all those topics. So their products are featured in every single one of those topics. Those topics live on the site, obviously, and then those topics also get a corresponding social post throughout the year. And then one of the things that I have adapted to for Made for the Range is I am actually doing a lot of production work next year as well. So I started getting a lot of questions from some buddies of mine from previous connections at some of these companies and stuff, and they said, hey, do you know anybody you could recommend to do this video for us or to make this quick for us, or is there a quick cost for this? And started to realize that some of the value here, at least within myself, is as a video producer, not necessarily as Made for the Range, which like literally never crossed my mind, right? Like it completely went over my head, that entire idea. So the first time that I was asked to do it, I started kind of rethinking how this was all structured, which is really cool for a lot of reasons. So it's cool for me because I get to work with a bunch of these companies, even if they're not a sponsor. Like there's going to be a lot of content next year throughout the golf industry that I produced, and you might not never ever know it because it's just a one-off project that I make for a company and they get to use it for whatever they want. Some of it will involve collaboration on social. There's a couple, again, I hate to be a tease. I physically can't say it yet. There's a couple brands that you'll see my face on next year,
Nice.
which are going to be really cool. And it won't just be me. It'll be as Made for the Range, which is great for me. It's an awesome opportunity. It's a really cool way to try to push forward the Made for the Range audience at the same time. And that has been like, I'm crazy grateful for that. Like the opportunity for these people to let me do stuff with them and to let Made for the Range be acknowledged in those projects is phenomenal, right? Like it's not something they have to do by any means. But it's really cool of them to do it, and I'm very excited for those projects. I also I have some fitting stuff that's going to happen next year, which is going to be really cool. I'm not super sure how it's going to be structured. It's not going to be me doing the fittings. That's not going to happen. But I have some fitting style content that's going to be cool next year. So I'm excited about that. And then I have started developing a little bit more product relation too. So you guys know, I think we talked about it last time. Covering product individually is not a huge part of what I want this to be. In the future, I could potentially even just let another person do that under Made for the Range. But I'm more about like how is a product designed and who it's designed for versus covering individual product. But like Mac, I know you saw the Mizuno stuff for that STG. So stuff like that, like more highly produced stuff with like really really nice
Yeah.
graphics and like overdone B-roll when that video ends up coming out. Like that's where I'll take that stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, just like it's been wild. I have to yell at myself or get yelled at by some close friends of mine like pretty frequently about like, dude, this started in August. Like, you need to calm down
Yeah.
because I get worried all the time, right? Like, this isn't happening or this is too slow or like, I'm looking at this space and I'm like, why can't I close on this space? And I'm like, well, most people 90 days into something don't get that anyhow. And like, calm the hell down, dude.
Mhm.
But that's hard,
It can
Yeah,
be
like,
it can
I
be
have-
difficult, right? Momentum is like
Ugh.
momentum's great, man. It can be great for you if you have it and you keep it going. Like
Yeah.
that's one of the things that Bryce and I have going for us is like momentum. We got going, and it just kind of
We're
keeps
gonna
us
try
going.
to keep
right?
it going.
Just
Yeah.
keeps us kind of chugging along. And then as soon as you kind of slow that, you might make different changes. You might make changes to your brand. You might make changes to just your personality when it like approaches how you look at the brand and whatnot, right? We might have some
Yeah.
new listeners here. Can we, when you say the site or Made for the Range, we've kind of discussed what the site is at this point. Can you tell us like what the site is? We've said Made for the Range, obviously madefortherange.com. It's in the show notes below. But what is the website for anybody
Can
who
I
didn't catch the
jump
last
in
one?
here real quick before you answer
Yeah.
that question? I
Do it,
just wanted
Bryson.
to go back real quick while we're kind of on that topic. How you said you'll be in a few videos of companies as Made for the Range instead of Jake Morrow. Is that kind of
Yep.
what you were striving for with this? Like, did you want to be like, did you want your face associated with Made for the Range instead of Jake Morrow, or is that kind of just a kind of it goes hand in hand with what you're doing?
No, I do. I absolutely do because um Made for the Range, the plan for Made for the Range is that it's not just me in the future. At some point, personalities are going to be added to Made for the Range for different segments, right? Like an easy one I can tell you right now. I have no idea when it's going to happen, but at some point there will be a club building section of Made for the Range. The face of that will not be me. I can build my own clubs just fine, and they will be perfect to my standards. But like, it takes me a long time because I'm very picky about it, and I'm also slow. Like I'm just not a quick like good builder like that. But that's a perfect example of introducing other personalities. But like, yeah, I would rather people see me and see Made for the Range than see me for me because the other thing too is I I don't like when things are me as me because it has an inherent bias kind of in it because it's like, well, he's playing this, but he's talking about this. And I'm like, well, I don't want you to care at all about what I'm playing. It doesn't matter to you. It doesn't matter to anybody. It shouldn't. Like, I'm not good enough of a golfer, and that's not the content that I make. And that's why like I get really peeved about the handicap issue because every single time I do something, like TikTok's worse because it's little kids usually, but like everybody's like, "What's your handicap? What's your handicap?" I'm like, it doesn't matter. It literally means absolutely nothing to you. And then I say, and then I point out, I'm like, "Oh, I'm a 3 index," and they're like, "Oh, that's bullshit. You're lying." And I'm like, "Well, what do you want from me? I don't like. Do you want me to be a 15? Would that help? Like, I just don't understand what you're asking me for." Um, so yeah, to answer your question, long-winded, I want people to see me in stuff and think Made for the Range, think the bucket logo, that kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Mac. You can go back to your question.
No, that's okay. I just didn't want to get too deep into it without actually discussing like
Yeah.
what the like you mentioned all the subsections on the
Oh, so
site
the-
and whatnot, but like what the site is, what it's about. Like Bryce and I know it's like an educational, but maybe you can describe it better than we could.
Yeah, so right now, the site is live with about half of the content that will be populated on the site in the future. So there's 2 sections to it. One is all about equipment education and understanding why your golf clubs work the way they do by component. So there's a separate section for shafts. There's a separate section for each club in the bag. There's a section for golf balls that will be populated soon, as well as a section for grips, because there's more topics than you think about when you just talk about golf grips. So it tries to cover basically everything, right? Like I've got a topic on there on, what are the words on your golf shaft? And there's another topic on there that is, how is the center of gravity position affecting your iron play, right? Like, and everything in between, so that somebody can go on there at any level and hopefully learn something, if not a myriad of things. The website at this moment is not the the highest traffic flow, I will say. Our primary performance right now is on social and connecting with people through collaborations and doing lives on TikTok, stuff like that. But what's cool about the website is the people that end up on the website spend a bunch of time on the website. Like almost everybody that goes to the site clicks on a second topic, which is really, really cool, because that means to me, like, people are learning, they want the information, they're
Yeah, they're
excited about the
engaged.
information. Yeah, and they like it. And the pages on the site are, um, in my opinion, at least, they're a little bit more produced, they're a little bit more built out than some other sites. A lot of other sites, it's a white page with some words and a couple pictures, and that's your article. Mine has a lot more graphic influence. There's a lot more photographic influence. There's a bunch of, almost each of the topics has its own video that is only on the website. Like it's not a social thing or a YouTube thing. So that was a cool project, and like making sure that I incorporated a high level of video production into even the website was cool. In the near future, praise be, there will also be a product section of the website, for select products. I'll never be able to cover everything. I don't ever intend really to cover everything. Next year, I will have the availability to cover a lot of stuff, but it won't necessarily be directly for Main for the Range, if that makes sense. I have a partnership in place to do some of that stuff, and I think people really enjoy that. But like Mac, I shared with you the STG review. I think in a Google Doc, my review of one driver head was 3 pages,
Yeah.
not including the performance data testing.
It was extensive, man, and I appreciated that because it was nice to kind of like read through. And I think, like you said, that's why people are clicking on different subsections on the website. Is like, if they get to that point, they're obviously there for the gear. They're obviously interested in the gear, and then they're finding that knowledge there, right? So it's extensive, man. Like your work's extremely extensive, and that's why it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have you on and kind of pick your brain about it, right? But I think it's cool. I think it's like something that we don't see a lot of, or at all, really. Like we don't really have it in the golf space, that it's all in kind of one, I don't know, one like marketplace, if you want to go there and kind of absorb it all, right? Yeah. So, sorry, I didn't mean to like kind of cut you off with that, but it was really cool, man. The SDG, like it was neat. I even liked, like, you put your personal touch on it and stuff, which I think some people are gonna have comments and like might say things like that, but like you're human, and like they want like I want a real life review. I want like a real life experience of what somebody thinks that are hitting it, right? So even things like color and stuff like that, I think are important. And you get that at Made for the Range, which is cool. You kind of get like your own personal like opinion of it, and it doesn't seem like bias or anything like that. But man, it's extensive, which is cool, really cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point, right? Like I just want to lay it out there. Like here's everything I can possibly give you about this product from a physical standpoint as well as from a performance standpoint. The one thing I have committed to not doing, I think that is going to make me a little bit different, is I have told the companies that want to send product and stuff that like I have no interest in comparing outside of a single brand. So in one of those reviews, in one of those pieces of content, in one of those YouTube videos, when they happen, you're not going to hear me say like, oh, this is this Paradigm Triple Diamond is a lot like Stealth 2 Plus, right? Or if you're playing P430 LST, you should play this. Like, I have no interest in that. I don't have the ability to gather enough true data for that anyhow. Like, and my TrackMan numbers mean nothing. Like I'm a firm believer that my performance data means nothing to 99.9% of people. So everything is about just laying out the properties of that single product, and then if a comparison is to be made, it stays within the brand, right? Like that STG review I compared to the STX and the STZ pretty, not frequently, but like a couple of times in there. And that's, that's not to say that like if I run a Q&A on Instagram and somebody says, hey, how's the STG compare to the TSR4, like, I'll answer the question. I'm not
Right.
here to like hold back information, but as far as the piece of content itself goes, I want to be very when the YouTube does launch, which I had a conversation with Mac about this. I'm in an identity crisis with YouTube and with all the product stuff of like, I just don't know how I want it to look and feel, because I want it to be something different, and it's hard to be different in such a big market. And so once it launches, once it's up, which I have, your guess is as good as mine. It will be, I'm very inspired by tech YouTubers. So guys like MKBHD or Unbox Therapy, Jonathan Morrison, and those guys, like, they just overshoot the hell out of it, right? Like it's so overproduced, but that's why it's so flashy and cool. And that's what I want to do for golf equipment reviews, is shoot it like that and give it that much attention. So yeah, it'll be cool once it gets up, man.
I like
that'll
that,
be the second.
Yeah, considering I'm fresh off 7 hours of editing for a pod, that's a lot of work, Jake. That's a lot of work you're talking about, man. Like,
yeah,
and those guys, like, that's one of the biggest YouTube channels there is, right? Like the first one you mentioned, but which is actually
MKBHD has 11 people doing that.
Yeah,
it'll come with time though. Like, get better. It's like everything.
Shout out to the boys at Club Champion, because he's been on there doing a fitting and stuff before too, which is kind of cool. But it's a lot, man. But like, that's something different that we don't have in the space, right? Yeah. It was kind of like an opener of the question I wanted to ask you, because I don't think we really touched on this on the pod. But when you had the idea for like Made for the Range, did you think, like, you've always been a gear guy, did you think something was missing, like, in the golf space? Like, why did you build this network?
Yeah, 100%. So my biggest issue was, it was hard for
people had to pay for information.
Well, it's paying for information, right? Like from boutique fittings and stuff, and like, a Club Champion or a True Spec or a Cool Clubs, right? Like those fittings are really good. There's a lot of information there. There's so much that you learn, whether you buy clubs or not. Salesman's got to get mad at you, but who cares? Like, there's just so much good information in a fitting that I had such a hard time that it was basically behind a paywall. It was essentially a pay-to-play kind of thing. And yeah, like, Ian and Mikey do a great job with their YouTube channel, obviously. But if you look at the audience of that YouTube channel, it's still very much geared towards like the WRX guy or the THP guy, like the guy that probably already has an understanding of that and just wants Ian's opinion, basically, right? Like, so my original thought in this was, I wanted to be able to help a retail customer buy better. That was the goal. And I wanted to do that by giving them, in some circumstances, more information than they need, like stuff that doesn't even apply to retail sales, but give them the basis of information so that they didn't have to rely on the marketing from a company. Because that is, and I did this by talking to guys at Golf Tech, at PGA Tour Superstore. I talked to buddies. I talked to people that have golfed twice in their life. And I was like, look, if you were going to go make a golf purchase right now, what would you do? And, they said they would just Google reviews and stuff. And fortunately, unfortunately, the stuff that those people watch is, Rick Shields, Peter Finch, right? Like, that's what ends up hitting those people. And I wanted to do a better job of helping people understand the equipment than those guys do. Those guys do a great job hitting the marketing bullets. I don't think they do a great job with the performance testing aspect. It's a little bit flawed. I have a specific example on that we don't need to get into, but like, I just wanted to be able. I wanted people to be armed to like look at a club and have an understanding of it, regardless of what brand it was, what year it came out, how new or how old it is, if it's used, like whatever the case may be. If they can look at a club and understand the characteristics of that golf club and whether it's good or not for them, then they can make an easier and a more confident choice in their purchase, and hopefully play better golf and enjoy the game a little bit more.
Mac here for Manscaped. Gentlemen, our friends over at Manscaped have been working night and day to bring you a below-the-waist grooming experience like none other with their brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. We're talking about a next-generation trimmer with interchangeable blade heads for whatever shave a mind can imagine. AI is cool, but I think this might be the best technology advancement the world has ever seen. Upgrade your grooming game to the Ultrasphere this year by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping using the promo code OTSGolf. High tech for low prices. Manscaped OTS Golf for 20% off plus free shipping. We'll see you in the Ultrasphere. Do you think that you've been able to pull, because like some of the brands that you work with right now, like Adele and like you do a lot with like True Temper and stuff like that, obviously huge shaft company and stuff, but do you think you've been able to like pull golfers away from, like if you're going to go search for something on Google, it's probably going to pop up first and be like TaylorMade, Titleist, Callaway, something like that, because that's who's paying to, you know, find their space, you know, find the top of the charts, right? So do you think you've been able to kind of pull golfers like away from being, I don't want to say loyal to a brand, but like just brand specific because they don't really know anything else, and that's kind of what showed up first? Have you had any of that? I guess my question is, have you had any feedback like that?
Yeah, I've had individual feedback like that from people. Yeah, absolutely. I've, you know, some of the messages that I get of like somebody, like I had a TikTok guy the other day. He commented on something. He was like, "Hey, can you answer this question?" It was a completely different question in the video, but he was like, "Hey, can you answer this?" I said, "You know, just like I was like, I don't want to be a jerk, man, but you know, go check out the website. Like that topic is there. There's also so many other topics, and that's been a hard part for me of like." I need to do a better job kind of pimping the website, because everything that will be a social media video is already on the website, right? I don't think people understand that. I think that they think it's like a one-for-one thing, but it's, you know, when the site launched in August, there was 54 topics preloaded on the site, and they didn't have to wait, you know, 120 days or whatever to read all of those. They could read them from day one. And when I launch new sections next year, it'll be the same way. Like they'll all be populated when they launch. The only one that didn't work that way was with the Woods this year. So Srixon is not an official sponsor of the of Made for the Range, but they sent out some heads and let me use them for some topics. But there's only a couple. So when that topic fully launches, when the Woods category fully launches, there'll be a full basket of topics ready to go. And I need to do a better job of that. Like I need to do a way better job of getting people to the website. Next year, like from a budgeting standpoint, there's going to be some money dedicated so I can try to fight some of that search traffic. And there's things I'm never going to beat, right? But that's okay. Like if I can get first page results, I think things will start to pop up for me and will drive a lot more traffic there. But yeah, I mean, I get it now every now and then with people that they'll write a comment and they're like, you know, I never would have thought to step away from this, or I never would have thought to try this thing, or I never would have. Golf ball is the big one, man. Like we harped on this last time on the pod. Like I can't count how many messages I get from people that they changed golf balls and all of a sudden they're 3-4 strokes better. It's wild.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting off topic here a little bit, but it like we all look at like social media, like influence pages and stuff like that. And like one of the things right now, and I think that this would work really good for the website is when somebody like makes a comment on one of your videos or whatever it might be, or they show interest, you kind of like, you can say like, leave a comment and I'll send you the information sort of thing. Right. So do you do like a newsletter or anything like that? Or do you have like a mailing list? is there a way that we can that you can start like being more specific in your videos to help move people, like move traffic to the website?
Yeah, so there is going to be, I actually wanted to launch the newsletter in December. That's not going to happen. I'm just not ready for it. Um, there is going to be one, and that newsletter will be here's your topics of the week kind of in your inbox, just as a reminder, as well as a chance for me to work with some partners. Email lists are huge for manufacturers. They love email lists. So stuff like that helps the brand as well. Because you can throw in sends about new product or sales or promotions, whatever the case may be. Also working next year on a better Linktree for social, because I am starting to get some codes. I get asked on a daily basis for a Super Stroke code, which I have now, just so everybody knows. It gives, so like my Super Stroke code is M for the number TR23. That will work throughout the rest of this year. It gives people free shipping on whatever their purchases. Doesn't matter what they buy. Gives them free shipping, and I get nothing from that code other than recognition of that code was used. I don't get an affiliate kickback. I don't get money back from that. That's not why I have the code. It's literally just so that my audience gets a benefit out of the fact that I have a great relationship with Superstroke. I'll have a couple more of those, I believe, by the end of this year, and then there'll be a good handful at the beginning of next year too. And that'll help because that little link tree in the bio helps to get traffic through. Because I'll probably make that a page on the website. So instead of like being right there, they'll have to visit at least that page on the website to see all the codes. Yeah, no, there's definitely work to be done on the website end for sure. It's been one of the biggest learning opportunities of this whole thing is like, I can make social content, man. I can make a video. I can take photos. I can do decent write-ups. But that website, man, it's a new beast, which is cool though. I like new things that frustrate me. Like it's fun to work through those challenges.
Well, we kind of got started off with like merch there. We were talking about, I think, when we kicked off the pod. So like that'll frustrate you because I've worked through that. Well, you and I have talked about that like a little bit. And it's not easy, man. It's like those like the printful sites and stuff like that you can just like go in and like they do a good job and it's great to like get started on. But you're right, like doing like an exclusive drop or something that's more specific to made for the ranges is going to be like long term much better, right? But it is a lot of work up front, man, to get those things to work. But yeah, made for the range podcast one day, maybe podcast one day.
Man, Bryce doesn't like teases.
No, I love them. I just say I love them. I say you always have when you come on.
You've always
so
got them.
I will say that within the frame of my video portion of this podcast, there is a hint as to who I am going to launch my podcast with, and it is going to be incredible. It hasn't been done yet.
You still in Bryce?
It has been agreed to, but
you leaving Bryce?
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell you, but
this is
my 2 weeks in.
This is a bad time to learn, eh? So 164 5 episodes, whatever. That's it.
He likes my expertise on gear, man. I know it all.
Yeah, who can spin a Kirkland wedge?
Max. Sorry, dude.
Who can spin a Kirkland wedge from 210? Bryce can.
I can, yeah.
He sure can.
Give me those Stealth HDs. I'll spin a 4-iron.
That's no, that's great though, Jake. It's because I think there was almost like a lull in the podcast world, and then like we've seen a resurgence like lately, and then your video quality is like amazing. Like the way that you build content is amazing. So I know that you would, if you were to be able to put out like even if you were to be able to put out like one a month in consumable content that was like 45 minutes or something like that, or like an hour. That's kind of the window that we stick into. It would be, I think, very well received. I think it would go really well.
I agree.
People would be interested in that.
So we were on two things there. A, there will be items with the bucket logo on them next year. And B, probably Q2, there will be a podcast. Not really a spoiler, but something that I might be shooting myself in the foot by saying is I want this is gonna sound so stupid. Do you guys know what the Call Her Daddy podcast is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even when she's not in her environment, like when she goes to people, she puts like a setup, right? And she does a tri-camera setup with nice lighting, and like she's in person, she's always with them, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's my threshold for the podcast.
Yeah.
If it's not that, because for me it's a video thing, right? Like it's not even a podcast thing. I'm gonna rip the audio and use it for a podcast, but for me, it's primarily for the video aspect of it. So that's gonna be the challenge, right? Because a lot of these guys are Carlsbad. Obviously, there would obviously be a Super Stroke episode. Like that's Detroit. I would meet you guys in Detroit. I've got some Toronto boys that I'd have to meet, which depending on what the time frame we did it with you guys, because obviously you'll be on there at some point. Whatever time frame that is, I don't know if it's going to be Detroit or Toronto, but I'll be in both areas at some point. So that travel aspect is
yeah. I'm doing a bit of that right.
That's gonna be a hurdle.
Man, I'm doing a bit of that right now. Like I was actually talking with I don't know if you know Cousin Clubs. So I'm gonna be in Vegas next week. So I was kind of talking about grabbing a car, trying to find a podcast space locally that I could go to him, right? So it'd be a little bit easier because if I'm going to Vegas, I'm gonna bring like not that much clothes. I'll have like barely a carry-on bag. So that was kind of the idea, is we were thinking about trying to rip a pod down there, and like there's studios set up for that too, that you can make that work. But the tri cameras and stuff like that, like going down to, because I recently just did it, I went down to New Jersey for the Lowy, and unfortunately one of my cameras wasn't that great. I didn't realize like on big size that it wasn't that great. So but multi-camming and stuff like that is hard. The editing's hard. That's what I was just spending all that time on. But like having like another camera is like really good. Then it's just more time and stuff like that. But I think if you were to release one with the amount of content that you have and like the in-depth content that you have, or like with a brand specific, like once a month or something like that, or whatever it was, that'd be really cool. I think people would really enjoy that. I know that we would. We definitely would. And we'll jump on.
One of the things that I thought about was, from a people perspective, if you can keep things not timely, right? Like if you don't bring up current events and you talk about a topic, you don't have to worry about when that comes out necessarily. And so I thought, like, what if I booked a trip to Carlsbad or San Diego or whatever, that area, and I rented a really nice Airbnb, and I just set up a set, and I just invited 5 people for 3-hour sessions over the course of 3 days to come in, film their pod, and then I'm booking out of there, right? And then so I think I don't know, I would love to say that I know I'm going to do it, but I don't. But that's an idea. Somebody else gave me that idea actually. But that's a good one. I think that idea is pretty solid actually, because if you need a place to stay anyhow, so you take whatever your normal hotel cost would be out of your budget, and you just think that any additional cost for the Airbnb, because it's a nicer place, is like your production budget, then I think there's a chance to work that out, especially when you talk about San Diego, Carlsbad. I don't want to go out there 5 times. I want to go out there once or twice and get it all taken care of.
And it's nice too, because you can just bank a few and kind of pop them out when you want, right? I mean, there's like a specific time where it's like, oh, this will work perfectly. Like something relevant happens, you shove it out.
Yeah, we've been really good at speaking about like things that aren't like relevant to that exact day, because sometimes, we went through phases as well. Like as like we're like ripping one of these every Friday, which is it's not multi-camming. Like it's not multi-camming. We typically do a single screen. It's just good information if somebody wants to come watch it, kind of learn about the guests and whatnot. But the production is not huge. We're doing it over like Zoom or whatever it might be, but we're trying to do it like each week, which is great. But now when you try to elevate that and bring it to another level, it can be like really difficult. But
man,
I think Bryce and I have gotten really good at not speaking about things that are like relevant to that moment. Or if we do, you can simply explain. Like throughout the Lowy pod, we were talking about like I have Mallet 007 coming, 008 and 9 were already bought, I think, like, or number 9 was like the next one available. By the time I got the edit done, it's going to be long gone. We kind of mentioned that, right? We're like, you're shit out of luck by the time this pod comes out and you hear this. But, it's, you can just speak to it then, right? Like, I think you get good at it, you get confident at that, and then you can just kind of like address that topic if it comes up, because people really like the raw edit. They don't really like things cut out. We've learned that. Like, we've learned that over time. People, like a couple weeks ago, we're talking to Bo Blair about pizza for like 11 minutes or something, and people love that, right? It's like a little bit of something else. So I think you're a really genuine guy, so it would be fine. But I think a podcast from Made for the Range would be pretty cool, man. There's there's obviously some gear podcasts out there, the Club Junkie and stuff like that. I think Club Junkie, you know that guy, right? I think.
Yeah, he's actually on my list. Him and I are gonna do like a crossover episode.
Yeah, so he's got like a great pod, and obviously Ian and Mikey and stuff. But like, you still have a very different approach, right? To like your gear specific and like the way that people can learn it. So I think that it would be like a supplement to people reading the website. It would be, a consumable like video format of content that would be the same as one of your subsections on the website, but you could just consume it by watching it, which a lot of people like to do.
Yep.
Well, what I like too is, Jake, you're so knowledgeable in the game, and once you go to these companies or these individuals who also know a shit ton about a certain thing or multiple things, you guys just clash, and the amount of information that's going to come out is just, it's almost exponential. Like, there's so much information that people can take out of it from two different perspectives, and I think that's great.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't want this to sound so bad, but like, I'm comfortable with where my knowledge level is at. I think that what I'm doing is the perfect level for the knowledge that I have in helping people, right? Like, I'm not Ian Fraser, I'm not Ryan Barath, right?
But you know a shit ton about.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I think my content reflects that really well. Like, I don't think I overreach. So part of this podcast and like the list of guests that I'm gonna go after is almost more like I would do it without filming it, right? And it's just a benefit that I get to film it and share it with everybody else. But I would go have that conversation and ask those questions and be just thankful for the conversation, regardless of whether it became a content piece. And that's the kind of, like, those are the guests that I'm really going to go after. And then I get to do some with friends, right? Like, I get to do some with you. I get to do some with my custom builder, Alex. I get to do some with, like, just some of the buddies at places, right? Like, there'll be a good mix of just kind of like golf lifestyle chats, and then like hardcore, like, I'm going to ask some questions to people that they might not have been asked before about their equipment. So yeah, I think there's going to be a cool mix. There is nobody has agreed to this. I just want to point that out right now. But there is we have tried 3 times and failed. But I am going to try my damnedest to have an episode with me, Club Junkie, and Barath all at the same time. And I don't know how long that's going to last, because it might be a 2-hour thing. But I am rolling those damn cameras until we shut up.
Can we,
that is going to be crazy.
When that episode happens, can we get some sort of trivia going? I think that would be awesome. Little 3-man trivia question.
Yeah, that would be nice. I would like that.
First, you get the bell too, like the buzzers, so you can answer it first.
Yeah, make it like a little game show or something.
Little game show.
Bryce will host it.
I'll host it.
We can work it out.
Just bow tie. Just bow tie.
Yeah. Have a live
tarp off Bryce and a bow tie.
Game show. And I'm your host, Bryce Yetman.
Yeah. Start growing your mustache right now, Bryce, for that.
I literally just shaved it all.
Yeah. But whenever that comes out, it's got to be like Ned Flanders thick.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. So
get the suspenders with like the white
dress
shirt. It'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna go back to against what you said a minute ago there, Mac, about us not really talking about relevant things. Like, I got chills today when I heard Tiger being introduced on the first tee. That was great.
Yeah, it was. And this will be going out. We're talking in the future now. We've said this a few times, so this one will be. You might listen this December.
Oh yeah, correct.
It'll be next week. It'll be next week from when we're talking. So
But
when
this is
I said I'd be in
Thursday
Vegas
of-
and stuff, that pod might already be like, yeah, it might already be recorded. I have no idea, or it might not be. Who knows? But
So this is Thursday of the Hero for everyone.
yeah, so we're
Hero
talking
Yeah.
Thursday of the Hero. So Tiger shot 75, I think.
5, yeah.
Yeah, which not
75,
bad.
yeah.
Look good.
Not terrible.
Still
Yeah,
wearing
Billy
FootJoys.
Willie Z was struggling. Got the
Yeah.
new broomstick, and I don't know.
Got the
Wasn't
broom.
working
I
too
didn't
well.
see that.
Yeah, he's got a
Ooh.
Yeah,
broomstick.
he's got a lab.
He's got the lab, the same one as Glover, same grip and everything.
Yeah, he's got a mez. Yeah.
Actually, that makes sense, right?
Well, it didn't look good today, but
In theory, it makes sense.
in theory,
Jake, doesn't that make sense for Willie Z? His putting stroke? No,
Um,
face balance.
I mean, he's like
all the way
he's
down.
like me, man. You got such a bad putting stroke, nothing works. You just try to.
I mean, face balance makes sense, yeah, because he ends up getting it back square. But like, I bet the lab is actually helping him because it
Yeah,
kind of It's not just face balance, right? Like it forces face balance.
Yes.
There's a difference between those two ideals. Which, by the way, just like a quick shout out for everybody in the world. Lab may be able to maintain the fact that they're the only lie angle balanced putter, but there are other putters on the market that are face forward designs. Like there are other putters that exist that the face stays tracked on your putting line without rotation. Lab does an extremely good job marketing, and Sam is such a nice dude. I haven't heard a bad thing about Sam from anybody in the industry. So this is nothing bad about Lab. I think their stuff's really cool. I think he did a really cool thing. I wish more people would understand that there are other options available, because the looks thing is something you have to think about, right? Like there are more reasonably
Yeah.
attractive putters available with the technology.
Give us an
to
example.
Keep you face forward online. Even Roll Zero.
Okay.
Even Roll Zero is a winged mallet. It's got a big hole in the middle, which is kind of funny because you can actually pick up your ball with it, like on a gimme, not out of the cup. But yeah, Even Roll Zero is a face forward design that has a shaft behind the face. Like the insert for the shaft is behind the face, not parallel with the face. But when you toe hang it, like when you let it revolve in your hands, it doesn't go face up, it goes face forward. And when you put it down, kind of like the little reviewer thingamabobber, it does a very similar thing, I guess I'll say, so I don't get in trouble. Great putter, and you get sweet face technology. So yeah.
Okay.
There's just other options available. I'd say there's nothing wrong with the lab putters. Absolutely nothing wrong with them. They're just not the only ones. That's all.
Interesting. Okay, I like that. I do like that because
Yeah.
like, I haven't looked too much into it. I have like heavy toe hang, so but I like that. Like I like that feel, right? So, it's always just kind of like fit my stroke fine. And like when we were building this one, like it was something that I discussed, and I was definitely okay with it. But I'm intrigued though. Like I'm obviously intrigued by like a face balance putter, and I've never even rolled one. Never.
I haven't either, but
Yeah.
I pick my putter by how they look. Terrible to say. They look good, I'll roll.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's got to look good.
It's-
It does.
I'm such a firm believer of like if you don't like the way your clubs and your ball and your bag and everything looks, it's like that's my
Yeah, no,
first
we
thing.
talked about this in the
You gotta look good to play good.
in the Lowy pod last week. It is something like
Yeah.
he's creating functional art, right? So like you're going to be more confident standing over the ball looking at a putter like his. And like Jake, I know that's maybe not kind of like your range that you're looking at right now, like that type of like custom piece necessarily, but like if you're getting something built to the exact specs that you want with like a look that you want, you consider it like a piece of art, you're definitely going to be more confident over top of that. We got into it for a minute, and then we were like, okay, like it's just getting way off topic here. We started talking about like 100-yard wedge shots versus dispersion with like 20-foot putts or 30-foot putts and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's just like a little out of control, but we were saying like, because he was saying that he thinks the putting stroke is the easiest stroke on the scorecard, and I didn't necessarily agree. I think a lot of people do. I don't think he was like way off, but I was just kind of playing devil's advocate really, and then I was thinking like, regardless of it, he might be right. Like if you're a 10 handicap golfer, you might be a really good putter.
Yeah, so I have a
That's me.
I have a personal beef with this exact topic.
Yeah.
And it's very, very specific. So there is a company that promotes a putter fitting as solving 40% of your game. It specifically says 40%. Okay.
Okay.
Big number.
If you do the math, right, 40% of 90 strokes, which I'm going to call the average golfer, 40% of 90 is exactly 36. How many putts is that per hole?
Two.
I'm not a school guy. You can't be asking me math questions. What's this?
Two.
I said it. I
That's
said
two.
it. I said two.
Yeah,
That was
I heard you. Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
kind
okay.
of giving Bryce a second to redeem himself.
No, I gave
So-
up right when you asked it.
so
You
two
started throwing
putts a
numbers
hole, right?
out. I didn't even try.
So somebody's shooting 90. They can't break 90, and they two putt every single hole. Does that person need a putter fitting?
No.
Absolutely not. It doesn't make
I
any
can't
sense.
even two putt every hole.
Why? That person does not need a new putter. They need to get to the green in time. And then we go to this thing of like, drive for show, putt for dough. And you look at some dudes and you're like, well, sir, like your show sucks, right? Like,
yeah.
you're not making any dough because nobody's coming to your show,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's such a, I hate that saying because statistically, more people, and I'm talking like beginner golfers now, more people are more capable of two putting a hole than they are of keeping a ball inbounds off the tee.
I love that we're
With a
like into
truck.
this again 2 weeks in a row. Because I was giving like a topic
Oh.
of like say we're taking like 100
Really?
yard wedge shot or something. That's what we're talking about, and your typical dispersion's like 30 feet. Which would be like not bad at all, really. Like, but so if you're taking like, I guess 100-foot putt, like, I don't know. We're breaking the math down, and it was just like, I think it's when you break it down, it all kind of falls into the same place, but putting probably feels a lot easier to people. Feels a lot less daunting. And then there's things like variables like going OB and stuff, which most people don't when they're putting.
I was gonna say the easiest stroke in my game is just 4 right into the woods.
Yeah. So it's probably one of those things where putting should be it's more of like probably more at the elite level. Like when you're trying to become an elite golfer, like you really need to like work on your putting, I think, because I don't know.
Like when you
There's a lot of
when
people
you
who
need
aren't.
to-
I could like roll 26 butts and still shoot 90 easy. No problem.
That's the thing, right? When your score can only get better by one putting, then let's worry about your putter, right? Like other than that, like buy a putter you like. I don't care if it's the perfect fit for you. And I've told everybody, I've said it on multiple videos that I think a putter is one of, if not the only club in your bag that if you fall in love with a putter and it doesn't perfectly match your stroke, it is not hard to change your putting stroke.
Right.
If you are straight back, straight through, and you fall in love with something that has a just whopping amount of toe hang, you know what? Release that baby a little bit. Open it up, close it through impact. Boom, solved. Now you get to use your lovely putter and it stays online. Done. Right? Like
I'll miss you.
there's no
2011
issue.
Del Mar. I'll miss you. It was a good run. It was a good time, man. Me and that putter, we found, I don't know, but I always rolled the number 9 before that, right? So I kind of made it work, but I'll miss that thing.
If I could get one human being, if I had a chance to sit down with somebody, design a putter, and have it exactly what I wanted, and work with the intelligence of that person, it would be right there. This guy, right here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, that whole 40% thing, man, that just the math ain't mathing on that,
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I think
Is he
that's
off on his own now, Toulon? Is he off on his own now?
He sure is. I got to visit their new studio last time I was in California. I'm going to see them again in a couple weeks. Their small batches are selling like hotcakes.
I bet.
They have not sold out of a small batch within 24 hours.
Wow.
So Yeah, they're grooving it, and they actually do a lot of stuff overseas, which I did not know. Um, Very popular in the Asian market, those putters, because
Oh,
it's kind of
really?
Asia. Yeah, I mean, the Asian market is a lot more like status with your clubs rather than performance. Not rather
Mhm.
than, but like it's just as important to them, the status of your bag versus the actual performance of your bag.
Yeah.
Because the Asian market, a lot of people don't understand that there's way more product in golf than you think, because the Asian market has a million different SKUs for stuff that you'll never see in an American hand. And but like the Asian market is very particular about what gets introduced. And I don't want to talk too much on it because I'm not an expert on it by any means, but like shaft profile wise, right? Like Asian market is like 95% blue board profile shafts, and then like a couple other things. And I'm talking about from every manufacturer. Like this is not a one manufacturer thing. Like it's the whole market over there is very, very different. And I think it's cool. Like I just started getting into the idea of it and like just understanding that side of it just because their gear is so cool. Like if you can get your hands on JDM stuff, I mean, good luck, but like it's freaking sick. They make some really cool stuff over there.
I've seen like
Like
the
there was a version of
what is it?
Stealth, right? Like there was a version of Stealth in Japan in like 2016.
Ooh, that's
Yeah, it was
interesting.
the when the M series came out, they had a carbon faced version of M series in Japan.
Wow, I did not know that. I've never heard that.
Yeah, it was called
Have you seen like
M Gore or something like
what is it? Itabori? Itabori? Do you know that? Have you seen that? Those irons? Oh
that.
man, they're sweet.
Uh,
And like I don't want to. I can't remember the name. Is it like Kyoshi or something like that? There's a couple like Japanese pages that
yeah.
I follow. They're so good, man. They look so
Yep.
cool. The Itabori one's
Well,
pretty cool.
and it's cool because like in that market, you get stuff right from the forgers, right? Like they all have their own in-house brand, and a lot of them don't sell to the States. Like Epon is the only one that I can think of that is a in-house forged iron, because like Endo Forging, who makes irons for a lot of companies, they have their own brand that they made, and that's Epon, like, which is
Yeah.
freaking sick. But you go overseas, like you go to Japan or Taiwan or whatever, like there's a lot more of those available because it's right there. Like you're getting it straight from the manufacturer.
Any North American brands, Jake, that are kind of on your radar that maybe you haven't worked with yet, or that you'd like to work with, that you'd like to kind of be able to share knowledge with, like with your community?
Are you talking major or are you talking
Maybe more direct to consumer.
smaller? Yeah, so I'm going to start doing a lot with sub 70.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
So
Is that
sub
Jim?
70 is down.
I know the Canadian guy, Jim. I think he's Jim.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah. But so the sub 70 guys are all members at the club I'm at. It's like
sweet.
down the street. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I have learned so much about the DTC market and the differences within the DTC market and the different levels of development in DTC from those guys. It is wild.
It's a whole new
Like,
ballgame.
yeah, I mean, because there's levels to it, right? Like there are companies that are straight up, they saw a catalog from one of the forgers overseas, they picked an iron, they put their logo on it, and that's what they sell, and that's fine, like whatever. But I didn't realize that sub 70 is not that. Like I'll be honest, and I told them this. I told the owner to his face, I was like, dude, I was just always told by other people like that's what you guys were. You just picked an iron on stuff, and he goes, no, every product we make nowadays, especially in the more recent ones, and like some of the stuff that might be coming out next year, like they have prototypes, they go through stages, they make changes, they work with the factories to make their own product. Like it is not badged catalog items, and I did not know that. Like I actually felt kind of like an asshole when I brought it up, but like I just asked him straight up. I'm like, hey man, here's in like the weird golf nerd world, like everybody looks at DTC as if you can open a catalog and buy that club, and for some companies that's true, right? There's a couple that is the case, but they know that and they don't think to really hide from it. But other companies that's not the case, and like sub 70 is one builder, one set. It's not an assembly line. Your stuff doesn't get passed around. It's one person measuring properly everything, just like a Club Champion would, or just like a True Spec would, just like a Cool Clubs would. So yeah, and that's honestly why I chose to keep like going down the route of doing some stuff with them. I've got a really cool project actually coming up with those guys. I kind of fell in love with one of their irons, and they're gonna do some special stuff for me on that set. So
Nice.
yeah,
I love that, man.
it's a cool story, and I hope to help them kind of tell that story a little bit more to the audience and try to get people to understand the differences in a company like that. And the bigger question is like, even my Golf Spy, which flawed testing or not, like, the sub 70 hybrid wins against all of the other manufacturers. How is that possible, right? That hybrid, like on sale over, was like $130, something like that, right? Like it's a wildly different price bracket. So how in the world is that beating Callaway, TaylorMade, Ping, right? Like, and I hope to help tell that story a little bit without. There's an understanding too of like Ping has a huge research and development budget. They have a huge marketing budget. Like that cost has to be factored into your product,
Of course.
right? Like that is a thing. Like this is not just it costs this much to make, we have to sell it for this much. There's so much more to it, and I think people gloss over that. And the internet sucks, right? Like the internet is the internet, and there's really good parts to it, like the relationship that I get to have with guys like you guys, and there's bad parts to it, like keyboard warriors that think they know what the hell they're talking about.
Well, I think the reason why I asked you is because Bryce and I kind of resonate with like the DTC companies and stuff like that. We've had quite a few of them on. We've spoken with, like, talked to them all the time, like through DM and stuff like that. So we'd actually talked to Sub 70 about coming on a while ago, and I think we just kind of lost touch, but we might have to kick that one back up. But is that more common than people realize? Yeah, is that more common than people realize? Like that it'd be like a cataloged iron set or something like that through some of the direct to consumer brands. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's the other thing, and again, I'm not an expert on this, but
it doesn't mean it's bad. Like that doesn't mean that it's bad necessarily, right?
No, but people also don't understand that's exactly how a lot of big OEMs make their irons too. Like,
right.
Just because a DTC company starts off of a catalog, doesn't mean they stay there. They might, they could, but it doesn't mean that they stay there. But it's the same thing as, a TaylorMade or a Callaway or whatever. Like, we all know that there's factories overseas that will make an iron, because is TaylorMade going to build a $100 million facility to forge their own irons when somebody who's been doing it for 100 years is doing it perfectly? No.
And
they're going to work with that person. Yeah, they're going to work with that person to give them their designs and forge it how they want. And that design isn't going to be available to other companies because TaylorMade did the research, they did the prototyping, they did the marketing, they did the testing. Like, people don't understand, like, they're actually made the same freaking way. Like, there's no
right.
The manufacturing of these products is not much different. What is different is the amount of time, the individuality, and the materials, right? Like, materials is a giant thing, as well as who purchases a patent first, right? I have found out that a lot of this technology was like basically up for sale, right? Like, people who spend a living manufacturing the actual components, those people come up with ideas all the time, and then they basically like put it out for sale. Like, who wants to buy this technology first and put it in their equipment? Like, that happens. I'm not saying that it's every time. I'm not saying that there's, like, I know some engineers at TaylorMade. I know some engineers at Callaway. I know some engineers at Ping. Those guys are crazy, genius, invaluable people.
Yeah.
But there's a give and take, and there's a lot available in the golf market. There's a lot available, and that's why a company like Sub 70 or Haywood or New Level can succeed and post really, really good product. And once they have a community behind them and they have a following and they have a little cult, like, they succeed. Yeah, it's great. I love seeing it. I think it's so cool. I think it's awesome to have a value option available for people too. Like, it's hard because you can't get it in your hands, and that stops the purchase from some people. So there's a battle there. There's a little bit of a hurdle to go over. But yeah, man, like it's still really cool stuff. And
And all the DTC irons, in my opinion, look phenomenal too. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is, but I don't think there's maybe I don't know. I can name a lot of DTC irons that just look great. Like the Tacoma
yeah.
ones look great. The Sub 70 look phenomenal. Haywoods look great. Like they just look so good.
Well, and that's like speaking about sub 70, right? Like name another DTC company that has 6 different iron models,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Not
Like
I don't know
not
if
to
I can.
mention, yeah, sub 70 has everything from like Tommy Armour three's blade design, which is the bladiest of freaking blades you've ever seen in your life, all the way up to a competitor of basically like the Cleveland Launcher or like the Stealth HD style of iron. Like
Right.
they've got it all. They have everybody covered at a good value.
Oh man,
Um,
these Haywood MBs are like
cool.
the 4
Yeah,
iron is like
they're
paper thin, man.
small, eh?
But I hit it well. Like I actually thought I'd have problems with it. I thought I might need to combo them and stuff like that. The game's slipping a little bit.
Yeah.
Game's not trending in the right direction. But no, hit them well. Hit them just fine, man. And that's like
It's awesome.
I feel like I hit them as well as I hit the ZX7s or whatever it is, right? So
Yeah.
it all kind of depends. Like there's still different things that'll probably move in and out of the bag, but I like them, man. I like them. That's kind of I think why we asked the question. But before we let you go, Jake, I kind of want to ask you a bit about like some of the maybe the struggles that you had getting started. Like I know you mentioned like you're struggling with wanting to do too much and people like telling you to pump the brakes and stuff like that. But if somebody's kind of thinking about, wanting to get into this type of world or whatever it might be, like in the golf space, what were some of the things you ran into? Like how did you get past some of the hurdles that you first ran into?
Um.
Like,
So
can I give you a specific one?
yeah.
Okay. Connecting with brands.
Yeah. So I was very fortunate, right? Having worked where I worked,
You had a bit of a
I created
background in it.
Yeah.
I created a lot of really good relationships too. I mean, I owe the connections I built there for some of the things that I have. And honestly, my biggest advice for anybody in golf is so incredibly small. The industry, um, and I'm talking about like from an equipment standpoint. I'm not talking about the influencer market for golf. People that work at golf companies, it's a very small industry. There's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of people that go from one company to another, to another, to another, to another. Um, I can name a handful of people that went from one company to another, and then back to the first company, right? Like it happens, and it's really cool. I think that's a really cool part about golf. The one thing you got to be careful of is because it's small, it's very easy to kind of like get kicked out of the industry. And so the transition for me of being somebody that worked in the industry as an employee to asking those same people for something that is leaning towards like an influencer ask, even though that's not what I do. That was a hard transition. That there were some hard conversations there of I had a couple people that like I probably relied on a little bit too much, and I didn't, and I kind of like threw all my eggs in one basket, and that basket's bottom fell out, just because of like legitimate logistics with the fact that I'm now a starting from zero thing, and they trust me. I'm their friend, all that stuff. Like that's fine, right? It's not a personal thing. But I struggled with that. I had a hard time with that at first. I if I'm being honest, like I took it, I kind of took it really badly too. I felt like it fell out a little bit. I felt like some of the stuff that I thought I would succeed with, I kind of like gave up on it, and I since have regained my faith in those things. But yeah, at the start, man, it was those months before August, um, were rough from a standpoint of like realizing who I was now versus who I was at that company. And it's not that one was better than the other by any means. It's just that they're very, very different roles in the scope of working with these other brands, especially when I try to go after the bigger ones, right? Especially when I try to talk to Callaway, I try to talk to TaylorMade, I try to talk to Ping, right? It's a very different conversation, and I didn't go into it with the right mindset. And thankfully, I have some really amazing friends and colleagues through the golf industry now that have stuck with me on certain things. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff happens with like people giving me advice or people giving me an email, people giving me somebody to text to, have a phone call with, whatever the case may be. Like a really good example that means a really large amount to me is the entire Toulon family. So Toulon obviously now being separate than Callaway. I met Sean about a year and a half ago now, and the second time I met Sean, he recognized me, he called me by name, and he said hello, and we had a quick conversation. And that meant a lot to me because Sean's a big name, and Sean does not need to remember who the hell I am, right? Mm-hmm. And then I started to meet the rest of the Toulon family. So Tony obviously works directly with Sean, used to work at Callaway. Joe is the tour rep for Callaway. They helped me at the Rocket. That's how I got to give away that staff bag as well as that jailbird that I got to give away. And then their other son, Preston, he's at Mitsubishi, and he's been a huge help for me with some shaft stuff. And like he's been a really big mentor of mine, actually, just in general. Him and I have created a really good relationship. And I now am very fortunate that with Toulon, Sean and Tony, being on their own, I have a relationship with them, and I think we're going to do some stuff next year. But it's going to be more of like, anytime I can get around Sean, that's my like big fanboy moment, man. There's nobody else in this industry that I admire as much as that man, and there's so many reasons why. Some of it has nothing to do with what he did in golf. Like some of it's just how Sean is as a person and how like wonderful that man is. And then you can tell with the rest of that family, like just how their lives came up and like just what their mentality is and why it's so different than some other ones. I hope that a little deep of an answer, but I hope it answers your question.
I love it.
No, man. Love that stuff because, especially too, like I've rolled the Atlanta before. There was, I still have the Atlanta, but I've rolled that one for a bit of time. There was another one too that I was like really interested in. Never got fit into a Toulon, but I know my guy Ziggy rolls into and loves it. Absolutely loves it. He's got the Las Vegas, so it's like they're obviously premium putters, man, and like the work is exceptional. They're beautiful.
Yeah, and their stock line is gonna be really good.
Yeah, like
they'll have a new stock line.
Yeah, and that's like really cool to kind of like go out and maybe I don't know, when you get to that point in your career and then you want to kind of go out on your own and maybe just kind of there's probably something that he just wants to do on his own. He just wants to be able to create something, like whether it be art or whatever it is, and I don't know. Hats off to people who can do that, man, because it's hard, man. It's hard to take that jump and do it, right? But before we let you go, Jake, what's coming up? What do we got? What do we got on top coming up in the next little while?
Yeah, so hopefully, by the time this podcast is up, I have released my holiday giveaway for 2023.
Ooh.
The minimum of that giveaway is going to be a set of Dell SMS irons, a full set. Which Mac, right-handed only. I apologize, buddy.
I'll be in it, don't worry.
That's all right.
Yeah. So there'll be a full set giveaway that will also include your choice of Super Stroke grips and your choice of shafts, and then we will custom build them for you. The shafts thing, I don't want to say which ones yet. It will be through True Temper, obviously, but I don't know if True Temper is going to pick one of their brands for that, or if it'll just be a True Temper free-for-all. But basically, this is the thanks back to the audience, using all three of my current sponsors for a pretty big giveaway. I mean, to be able to pick your own shafts, your own grips, and have a full set sent to you. I'll obviously throw some Super Stroke, probably swag in there too. I'll there'll definitely be a couple other goodies in that box for whoever wins that giveaway. Yeah, man, and then just rolling into 2024. There's one, I'll announce all of the section sponsors at the beginning of next year. The Learning Center updates will all happen by February 1st. I gotta have a little bit of time to get all that content ready. But so there'll be, there's going to be more than twice as much content as there is on the site right now by February 1st, which is very cool. Very cool.
Exciting.
YouTube is going to start. So long form, more in-depth topics is going to start in January. If not, potentially before then, if I can get it together. Podcast next year. What else? And there's one very large partnership that will be announced by that brand, actually. But there's a very large partnership that's going to happen next year that will involve people seeing me on a pretty big company's platform next year, that I'm very excited about, because it will give me some access to things that at my level I might not get. It's going to be a very big shared resource, and it's also going to allow for some crazy cool, nerdy content to be made. So very excited about that. Yeah, it's just, follow Made for the Range, stay tuned to the stories. That'll be a big one. Some cool announcements coming. But yeah, that giveaway is probably the biggest one. It won't be over by the time this podcast goes up, so you'll still have a chance to enter. That's for sure.
When is it open?
It's fingers crossed. It is next Thursday, the 8th, which should be the day before this pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So it should have gone live yesterday for those of you that are listening right now.
Yeah. So, you know what? If we remember, we'll get a direct link. If not, we're gonna have Jake's Instagram and Made for the Range Instagram in the show notes below, as well as the website. So you could just go directly Made for the Range link down below. Follow it. It'll probably be the first post that you can look at. And that's a pretty cool one to enter. Definitely a pretty cool one to enter, man. Yeah. And stop by the site too. Check out some stuff. Learn some stuff.
Please.
Like, it's the off season right now for a lot of people.
Learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's the off season for a lot of people right now. So it's a great time to consume a lot of content, and maybe find a new ball, or maybe find something like that you want to try out for next season.
Well, I was gonna say, especially Christmas time coming up, if you're in the market for getting new irons or new drivers, and you don't want to go pay for that custom fit, I mean, Made for the Range website is definitely the way to go. You'll learn a shit ton about shafts and all the other aspects of clubs, and maybe influence your purchase.
Yeah, hopefully
that was so
hopefully
good.
there's enough info in there. Yeah.
You like that?
A1.
That was great. That was great, Bryce.
so good.
That was,
Plug,
yeah.
You spoke
Matt,
to
can you
everybody.
put that
I'm
and send
directing
that
I'm directing a Made for the Range trivia show.
Yeah, live
I gotta
show,
really
yeah.
step
Yeah.
up my game. You know?
I'll produce it and just be in the back end here, and Mustache Bryce will be there though.
Yeah, but I want to, with my microphone, I want to have like the long cord. That
You
gotta
have the
throw
cord
around people and stuff. Yeah, it makes it so
giant
authentic.
long cord, and then
Yeah, exactly.
and
It's
then
I will say too, just real quick.
the big.
So
the big
if you have
thing
listened
on-
this far, if you have listened to this far, and we are going into the off season, there'll also be a significant amount of golf balls in that giveaway winners box as well.
I need those. I need to win. I need to win that. I'll split it with you guys, because I got a set of irons coming, but I'll take the balls, man.
Yeah,
I'll
but
stick with my Kirkland Sigs.
I have 2 tips for everybody over the winter. Figure out how much golf you played this year. Figure out how much you spent on playing golf this year per month. Okay, take that monthly cost and continue to invest in your golf game. If you spend $60 once a week to play a round, here's how I suggest you divide that $60. 1 week, hit up a sim. The next week, buy a box of golf balls. The week after that, buy 3 golf gloves. The week after that, hit up a sim again. If you do that through the winter, you will go into the golf season with all of the golf balls that you need and all of the gloves that you need for the season, so you don't have to waste your money when you're playing golf on buying reducible golf items. That also allows you the ability to play the same damn thing every time you play. I hate watching people play a different golf ball every time they play golf. It makes you worse. Play the same golf ball as consistently as you possibly can. I don't care what golf ball it is. Play it consistently, and you will shoot better scores. And you can do that by spending your money over the winter just as if you were during the season.
Love that.
There you go.
That's
my
great.
number one tip.
It's a great
Little
tip.
Christmas tip from Jakey.
Yeah, and like
My number one tip.
we're in talks with we're not in talks at all. Like sometimes I just like go there and I buy a lot of food there. So and I tagged them and they responded one time. They like liked it or whatever. But we want the Kirkland we need the Kirkland signature
Kirk,
sponsorship.
yeah.
like that's what we're
You're the
looking
Kirkland
for.
sponsorship?
That'd be
I
so
rep their balls like no tomorrow. People
Yeah.
always say they're brutal. I'm like, I use
Bryce
them.
plays 15 dozen of those things a year. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
it's
all.
great. No, but that is good information, Jake. It is really good information. Anybody in the area here, Greater Toronto area, come hit up Uptown Golf with me. I'm there all the time, so
There
we
you
can
go.
we can go by the sim. I'll have you come out, and yeah, we'll hit some golf balls together. It's a good time of year to do it. But yeah, man, it's good information to kind of stay consistent with it because everybody starts off and then they're like, my golf game sucks at the start of the year, or whatever it is, right? So keep swinging keep swinging the bats and try and grab some gear. That's a really good idea. Really good time to be doing it too. So I know the ball thing too is really important. I try to stick with the same ball as much as I can. If I'm not liking something about the ball, I'll try and switch it up. But based on like what I think I might want to hit and try to stick with that one. But it definitely does help, man. Like it does because it can.
Yeah.
Each ball can fly different yardages and stuff like that, but that's for a whole other pod. I'm like 9 hours deep now into podcast and editing and stuff, so my eyes are going, boys. I gotta run. I gotta go to bed.
All right, buddy.
But yeah, Jake, let's do this again. Maybe on your pod next time, or when the season starts up. We'd love to have you back, of course.
Yeah, we gotta sneak one. We gotta sneak one more on this before mine launches, probably.
Yeah,
For sure.
do a soft launch. For
We'll do like a
soft
you
opening.
know what we can do? We can do a new product roundup in like February.
Yeah,
Ooh, all right.
we'll come to you. Yeah, we want to do some live pods. I'll come to you. I love Chicago. Love Chicago.
We can meet in Detroit.
I'd rather go to Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, you can come here if you want. I'm not gonna stop.
I wanna
you.
see that
It's gonna be a
shop.
trip.
Yeah, how far away is it? Yeah. I'll pick up Bryce on the way. Is it on the way? It's kind of
Yeah.
on the way, right?
You would drive right.
I
It's
drove
on the
right
way,
through. I
you
drove
know?
right through. I'll pick up Bryce on the way, and we'll
Yeah.
come down and we'll do a live pod. Love it. That's great. Great.
All right, I got a space to do it. So
All right, boys. And you got the whole setup. I might not have to bring everything, so who knows? You got
true.
bet-
Yeah.
Yeah. But all right, Jake, this was
We're
great.
gonna
man.
leave there, and Jake's just gonna be down 6 set of irons, 3 putters.
I'll be fine, but Bryce will rifle through that stuff like it's his own.
Yeah, Bryce. Yeah,
Can't leave
he's just gonna start going through and just
Can't
take
leave him
boxes.
alone in
and
there.
know what's in them.
Can't leave him
Yeah.
alone. No
I'm
way.
just gonna bring my
Just gotta keep
hockey
an eye
bag
on
and just start stuffing.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, boys. We'll
All right. Thanks,
yeah.
guys.
Jake.
So
Yeah. See you,
again, if you're still following us at this point, go down below, madefortherange.com, go to the Instagram and join the giveaway because it's up right now. We'll see you next
Yes.
week.
Is out in my ball in the course where I tee up. I lose the ball and I re-up. I miss a fairway, I probably end up in the ocean or maybe the beach. And I'm on a par 5 and I'm finna go reach it. Second was blind, I ain't see it. Feel like it might be an albatross, worst case scenario.